Billionaires are buying time because it's still the most valuable resource. But here's what they are missing and how you can achieve better results on a budget. Welcome to the She Built This podcast. And I wanted to dive in today this really fascinating topic that I saw in a wellness industry journal around billionaires buying time. Now, what do I mean? I mean, they are investing heavily in longevity, on living forever. You have Jeff Bezos, who's investing in a company called Altos, Brian Johnson, who's been doing the Blueprint Project for ages, Sam Altman of OpenAI, who is backing heavily a company based in bioscience. And they're all really chasing this idea of living forever and who wants to be the first to get there. And whilst that may or may not be your thing, understanding that it's valuable and the value that it's placed on time makes us really, really aware of not only the longevity of our lives, but also the quality. And I think that's one of the key points that they're missing there. And I'm going to go into a few areas where it just exploring what they're actually doing, why they're doing it, and why they're possibly missing the point a little bit. And there's this principle around the last 10 years. Now, it's a little bit morbid, I guess, but thinking about how you are going to live your last 10 years on this planet and what that experience is going to be like. And a lot of the principles and the things that I teach my clients are essentially to make those last 10 years as good as possible and to make them as active, as pain-free, as enjoyable, as deep, as experiential as they can possibly be. And whilst that might seem a little morbid, it is actually really, really a very key part of what we do. Now, of course, we want to live right now. And that's what I mean. Like all the things that I work on clients with get really quick results. You get these instant kind of, oh my God, I feel so much better. And then when you apply and you're kind of like, oh my God, and I'm going to continue to feel this way for, living longer and feeling better. It's kind of like, wow. And when you look at the fact that they're looking to extend life and, live forever and have this ongoing kind of like how well are you going to be and to make sure that you are as well as possible going forwards. And we as humans have not really changed that much. And we are still playing catch up a little bit in some areas. For example, our digestive system is not really suited to the diet that we currently have. And so the more westernized and the more processed the food becomes, the digestive's the gap between what our digestive system is coping with and what it isn't. It becomes bigger. And my belief is that the more you can get back to the type of foods that we should be eating, the much better everything's going to feel. Obviously, this is not new news to anybody. But there's a couple of things that I want to pick up on. And one of them is that a lot of all of this boils down to metabolic health and understanding a couple of things where I talk around. One of my sort of catchphrases, I guess, is healthy cells equals healthy tissues equals healthy organs equals healthy body. And when you look at cell health, it's not very exciting, but it is one of the key aspects of why all of this gets to work so well, because once your cells are supported, then the energy within those cells is what fuels everything else. And this is what gives you your amazing life, is the ability to generate energy on tap and to expand and have this fabulous, fabulous life. We have this resource that is renewable within our bodies. And not only is it renewable, but it's multipliable. Like you can make more of it and keep making more of it. So it's it's madness really that we have any idea on the sort of the cap. I get quite kind of like really about a lot of it, because it's like, where do we think this stops? So you can improve in lots of other areas. You can learn a new language, for example, at 94 if you wanted to. So what is it that's different about our cells in our brain than our cells in our body. They are cells, they regenerate. We have this ability we have bioplasticity. We get better all the time. Will that process be slower than when we're at our optimal kind of expansion area time in our, when everything's growing really quickly in our, younger years and going up into 20s, 30s? Does it become a little bit more tricky? Of course. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. I do not believe that is true. And so this isn't a podcast about getting older. This is a podcast about understanding that you have a resource within you that you get to tap into that not only probably elongates your life as a byproduct, but it makes the life that you're living right now as good and expansive and incredible as possible. So, metabolic health, you can improve it, you can optimize it, and understanding that cell health is the key fundamental to pretty much everything it makes everything kind of make sense. So how do we go about optimizing cell health? Well, there are a few people who have a view that actually monitoring metrics, data, so you can understand, you can have your HRV, wake up in the morning, how well did you sleep? And so wearing a wearable, and anybody who's been on this podcast or heard this podcast before will understand that I'm not a massive fan of wearables, only for the fact that I believe that they sort of get in the way. In that, if you imagine wearing a wearable a bit like using AI to write, your dissertation, or for me in my world, for AI to write business content or to write social media content, it does the job and it can be useful if it's trained in everything that you want and you need. But there's an edge that it doesn't have. It doesn't have your intuition. It doesn't have your nuance necessarily. It will, and the better it gets, the more like it is, but it's still not quite right. When you look at those photos that are AI photos and you're like, there's an energy missing somewhere. And for me, wearables are great for adding depth to something that you already have information around, and adding measurables, things that you can, look at and see a measurable change. And you can also look at your own energy, and to be able to read your own intuition and understand how you actually feel and what you need to do. And I think there is a danger, a bit like when you rely on AI too much for using things that perhaps are designed to be creative, is that you actually outsource that too often and then lose some of the innate ability that you have to do that job. And so that's my concern with wearables that people rely on too much, is that outsourcing that actually makes their own innate intuition a little bit duller. It turns down the volume on that feeling that you get. And actually being able to read that and change within a day then makes such a difference. I mean, I have to, I sort of feel like mine's getting sharper and sharper as I get older. Without wearing a wearable, I am able to read my energy so much clearer. And now, where I'm kind of looking to expand again, another evolution, and I'm like, okay, everything feels like it's all leveled up and I'm ready to move into this next expansion. Being able to spend long days in London, I'm just literally heading off to London on the train very shortly, and I know it's going to be a late night and I've got a busy day tomorrow. And I'm already like, okay, cool. I'm going to need this, this, and this in place so that I get to expand into that day and I get to give everything. I've still got something left tomorrow. And being able to have this expansive resource is great. And, but if I were to look at my watch and go, but I'm having a bit of a bad day, or my HRV is not great, or, it's saying I should rest, then what do I do with that information? It's conflicting, because actually my day is saying we're not resting, we're going. So more and more as well, the boring stuff is mattering. The wellness industry, there was a big conference recently where all of the kind of the head honchos of the wellness world got together and started talking around, okay, it was a lot to do with architecture and how wellness can be brought into the architecture of, particularly in luxury buildings. And they were talking around how actually a lot of it still boils down to sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And optimizing those three aspects and environment. So in, having a social environment, those four aspects are still the most important. And so doing everything you can to optimize those four things are still the things that these billionaires are going to be spending their money on trying to optimize. So can you sleep deeper? Can the food be more nutrient dense? I guess, can you absorb the nutrients better? Can you exercise specifically for your own cells, your own body? So it becomes perhaps more personalized, and I'm all for that. That's really, really key. We are all unique, and what will suit one person will not suit another. And so understanding that is really fascinating. But it does still boil down to the basics. And there is so much that you can do yourself without spending a huge amount of money. You don't need a wearable to optimize your sleep hygiene. You don't need particularly expensive food in order to eat really, really well. You don't need to have really vast, expensive gym membership in order to exercise well. So all of this then becomes much more available. And actually, it is boringly easy to do it. It just isn't, it isn't personalized, I guess. And so the personalization comes with working then with somebody like myself who can then personalize it for you to make it as specific and dialed in as they can. So if you are looking for these sort of simple shifts that are powerful, and once you understand, they become really obvious and almost mandatory. Like in my life, there are things that do not move. They must be in there because over the years, I've seen how impactful they are for me. And this is what I teach my clients. And I'm actually putting it together in something called the 1% protocol, because it is for this 1% who are looking to make maximal gains on this. They're looking to expand. They're looking to find their edge and move into it. And that's running from the 12th of June. It's an 11-day experience that is designed to move you into this next level. I'll leave the information around that in the show notes. You can have a look at that, but it's going to be short, sharp, and powerful. So please do have a look and see if you'd like to join. But what I'd love for you to take away from today's episode, really, and to think about over the next few days is, firstly, how can you optimize anything that you're currently doing? Where have the gaps started to show? Where have the things that you used to be non-negotiable have slipped? What are your mandatory things that move you towards this metabolic conditioning that you don't need to have, a degree in bioscience to understand. You know how you feel, and you can back that up with your wearable, and you can understand that, that information is valuable. So what are those things, and how can you start to tighten up a little bit? And then if you're looking for personalization, then my first step would be to really start to look at the patterns that you're seeing. Where is your energy dipping? Where is capacity going down in certain areas that you're kind of like, okay, where can I shore this up? That's what I've done for myself, and what I do for my clients is I look at the patterns and we spot the gaps, and we fill those gaps with the precise thing that's going to give them that extra edge. And that might be food, that might be food, or it might be a mobility exercise, or it might be some sleep hygiene tips, or something around how do we optimize this? And that is what we're looking for, because whilst time is valuable, the quality of it is going to be the thing that makes the difference. There's no point in living forever if it's miserable, if it's painful, if it's uncomfortable. And I don't suppose for 1 minute that Jeff Bezos has any thoughts on living an uncomfortable, difficult life. But if this becomes more mainstream and we constantly look to elongate life, or to make life go on as long as possible, then I would say I want mine to be absolutely bloody great. I want it to be the best. I want to be the most active. I want to have the best experience I can possibly have. And that's available to us right now. That's available to you right now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you can take something from this and action it. Do check out the show notes for the information on the 1% protocol starting the 12th of June. I would love to have you there.